Let's get you up to date on the very latest. Obviously, I know you're shocked. You're shocked. We're leading with the Michigan football cheating scandal again. And I don't know how many more days we can go where there's a new update, and it's every single day. And again, the thing that I would encourage you to remember, and I know that all the Michigan apologists are out saying, hey, it matters. It matters. Jim Harbaugh didn't know. He's innocent. Let's get something very clear. It does not matter if Jim Harbaugh was aware of what Connor Stalions or anybody else in his football program was doing in regards to the sign stealing scandal. Jim Harbaugh is responsible for the actions of his staff, whether he knew or not. And I can only say that so many times and for so many weeks. And now finally, the national media is starting to catch up on that. There are reports today that, as we, I think, reported 2 weeks ago, that the Big Ten has told Michigan it just does not matter if Jim Harbaugh was aware. And Michigan's entire legal situation has been, well, if Jim Harbaugh didn't know and you suspend him, we are going to sue you. And to that, I say, hey, that's great that you want to sue the NCAA. But the letter of the NCAA law and the letter of the Big Ten bylaws says it doesn't matter if Jim Harbaugh knew. And it seems to be the main crux of this argument. Whether or not Harbaugh knew is meaningless. And I think that in light of today's developments, that is really significant. And when you look at what we're talking about today, we are talking about a pretty good punishment coming from the Big Ten. And a lot of people also have asked us over the last few days, well, what is the Big Ten capable of doing? It's just 2 games. It's not just 2 games. That is what Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, is capable of doing at his own discretion. If he wants to suspend Jim Harbaugh without getting anybody else's input, he can do that without question, 2 games and a $10,000 maximum fine. That is what Tony Petitti is allowed to do. However, if he goes to the board of presidents in the Big Ten and he says, which our sources are telling us, that Tony Petitti tomorrow, as early as tomorrow, may well suspend Jim Harbaugh up to 4 games, which would take Michigan through the Big Ten championship game. All Tony Petitti has to do to get that done is go to the executive committee of Big Ten presidents, and we are told unequivocally he has the support of that group to suspend Jim Harbaugh for 4 games. So it's not a matter of what Tony Petitti can do, and it's only 2 games. And I understand there's a lot of Michigan fans watching the show. We see you in the comments section, but facts are facts. It is not opinion. It is not conjecture. Tony Petitti has the ability to suspend Jim Harbaugh 10 games if he really wanted to, because he has the full support of the executive committee of Big Ten presidents. Jake, do you think tomorrow we get, I don't know, what's the word, closure on Jim Harbaugh's suspension?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Big Ten, wants closure as soon as possible. And I think that, the schools inside of the Big Ten want that as well. And so, yeah, I do think that a suspension will come down tomorrow. I think that this, this distraction campaign that is, going on with Michigan fan and everyone who seems to want Jim to be innocent. It's not really about whether you're innocent or not. I think everybody widely agrees now, even the biggest Michigan supporter, that something happened here and that signs were stolen and something illegal took place. And people just either want to downplay it or they want Jim to be suspended. And so for the Big Ten and really for college football, I feel like closure needs to happen on this as soon as possible, because we're in November now. The college football playoff is coming. Championship games are coming for these different conferences. Obviously, we're talking about the Big Ten with this. So this needs to kind of wrap up. We need to kind of get a bow around this thing and move along. And so if the suspension winds up being, 4 games, and those 4 games include the Big Ten championship game, then so be it. But I just think that for the Big Ten, they need this ability to kind of get on to that next thing. You've got new teams coming into the conference. You've got a lot of positive stuff happening next year. You do not want this to bleed into next year. You do not want to have some legal battle, if you will, between the University of Michigan and the Big Ten. So that's why I say, like, I just think that's why this is not a Michigan versus, the Big Ten thing. This is, hey, Jim is the head coach of the football program. That means that he's responsible for anything that goes on. And that means that we have to levy punishment against him. And that's what's going to take place tomorrow. And Michigan fan, if you're upset about that, I guess I understand it because it's your head coach. And obviously your football program is going to be impacted by that. But the reality of the situation is you brought this upon yourself. I mean, there's no way, in my opinion, Jim didn't know with the pictures we have and all the evidence that's come out. So I don't really care if Jim knew or not. The reality of the situation is this thing's run its course, and now it's time to pay for what has happened here. And that's just that. And so we can stop blaming Ohio State, or we can stop blaming this other, update that we got today about how a former Big Ten staffer came forward and said other schools, were telling him to go and steal signs. It was his job, and he revealed text messages and all this evidence. I mean, look at these pictures, man. Like this, it's not like this guy was hiding in a broom closet. It's not like this guy was some like back office computer wizard. This guy's on your sideline next to Jim and everybody else. So that's why I say, like, I just think that this has been a saga at this point, and it needs to get wrapped up for the health of the conference.
Yeah, and I also think, and we'll talk about those Michigan signs in a moment, but I also think there is an important update, again, confirming a report that we told you about, and that is that Michigan will not be punished as a university by Tony Petitti in the Big Ten. I think this is a very clear point that I think it was last Thursday on the show we made. Tony Petitti does not have the desire to punish Michigan administration or Michigan football players. I think Tony Petitti very clearly believes that Jim Harbaugh lost control of his football program. And I think for that, Tony Petitti is going to suspend Jim Harbaugh. And I think that is justified. I have made it very clear on this show, in my opinion, I think your athletic director knew because you have a budget that was allocated to this sign stealing operation, allegedly. You have a football coach in Jim Harbaugh who's known to be a control freak, who, when I covered him at Stanford and the San Francisco 49ers, was absolutely a control freak. You have a guy in Connor Stalions that was a football analyst. There is no way, shape, or form that a football analyst is going to be able to craft a sign-stealing operation that he allegedly crafted, and if you believe Michigan fans, on his own without telling anybody else of his actions. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And the other thing that I think is so critical about Connor Stalions, if Michigan didn't believe that they had done anything wrong, and if Michigan did not believe that what they were doing was any different than what any of these other schools now they're bringing up was doing, why did you suspend Connor Stalions? If you didn't think that sign stealing was anything, was anything nefarious, why did you suspend him? That's the part that Michigan can't get away from. You took immediate action against Connor Stalions. You did not fight for him not to resign. You didn't fight for him to prove his innocence. You suspended him. And then when he came to you and resigned, you allowed him to fall on the sword. So if there was no scandal and they didn't do anything wrong, and Michigan was only doing the same thing that everybody else was doing, then why did you suspend Connor Stalions? It's a question that Michigan cannot answer, because Michigan, by their own actions, know they have a problem in their football department. Not only, and I keep going back to this because I keep hearing about it, not only do you have a football coach who, by suspending himself 3 games, admits to a level 1 and a level 2 violation at a minimum.
Facts.
During the hamburger COVID dark period recruiting mess, he took a 3-game self-imposed suspension for those violations. You have the FBI investigating Michigan football. And this is an important distinction as well, because we've heard so much about how, oh my goodness, they're investigating Matt Weiss. They're not investigating Michigan football. Well, here's the problem with your theory. Then what is the University of Michigan police doing involved? And why did they ask the FBI to come in? And here's the other problem with your theory. What exactly do you think Matt Weiss was doing on those computers? Do you think Matt Weiss was doing something non-football that was a federal crime where he had multiple victims across state lines, allegedly, to the point where the University of Michigan police brought in or asked to liaise with the FBI, who then came to campus 6 weeks ago? Do you think Matt Weiss would be in jail already? But he's not. Many people, in my opinion, is Matt Weiss was involved in a football operation that he used Michigan computers for, that was an operation against other universities, in my opinion. And that's why there's multiple victims across state lines. But you keep hanging on to this idea that somehow the FBI is singularly investigating Matt Weiss. The chances of that are what? The chances, if for 6 weeks they had been investigating a computer crime that was a federal crime because it involved multiple jurisdictions, do you really think that when he was fired in January, he wouldn't have been arrested and charged already? Come on now. Put 2 and 2 together here. Common sense says that while the uncovering of this sign-stealing operation was not part and parcel of the Matt Weiss investigation, it's awfully difficult to believe that 2 significant incidents involving computers in the Michigan football department were completely unrelated. I have a hard time buying that. And the people that I've spoken to about this, while nobody, I think, has a full grasp of what the FBI is into Matt Weiss about, except the people at Michigan who aren't talking about it, I think there is an overwhelming consensus that we have not heard the last of the FBI in Michigan football. And if that truly is the case, a sign-stealing operation that's been exposed here is probably the least of Michigan football's problem.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to that term we all know and love, lack of institutional control.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it speaks to just how deep the issues are. It speaks to how nefarious the actions were. And yeah, we don't yet know the exact link or the exact thing that happened with the FBI side of this, but that will come out. I have no doubt about that. And yeah, I have to agree. I mean, it all seemingly came down at the same time. I mean, does anyone think about that? Like, all this stuff sort of started happening and coming to the public light at the same time. So it would not be surprising in the least bit if what the FBI found ran parallel to what Connor Stalions was doing, to what Michigan football was doing, and somehow, some way, that was related to them trying to get an advantage. And I don't know exactly what he was doing. Nobody knows yet. It's not public information yet, but
I really hope that it was football related, because if it wasn't football related, now things get really scary.
Seriously. Yeah. And
I mean,
and that's where I say, like, I Michigan's actions and what they've been saying and really not saying would suggest that it is football related, but I don't know. That's a big question mark.
Yeah, so I would not expect, according to the sources we have, I would not expect that Michigan or its players would face any discipline from the Big Ten. I would fully expect Jim Harbaugh to take a 4-game suspension when this comes out. I think Tony Petitti has followed the Big Ten bylaws to the letter. He has spoken to, again, coaches, ADs, and presidents. I would expect the response period to expire today, and then I would fully expect Tony Petitti to announce discipline tomorrow or Thursday. And I think that allows Michigan to move on. And the truth of the matter is that Michigan's a very good football team. And whether they know signals or not, there's a lot of talent there. I certainly do not believe this is a death knell. I certainly do not believe that Jim Harbaugh, the coach that I know, is make or break for Michigan football. I do not. I have not been a Jim Harbaugh guy. I think if you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you're well aware of that. I don't believe he's an elite football coach. And I think the talent he has amassed in Ann Arbor, that's an elite football team. And I think they are still very capable of beating Penn State. They are very capable of beating Ohio State, and they certainly are very capable of winning the Big Ten championship. And I would not at all be surprised if they wound up in the college football playoff with or without Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. So I think that's a big deal. And then there's this story about Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti knowing about this New York Times story today where Rutgers and Ohio State provided Purdue with Michigan signals and signs before the Big Ten championship game last year. The commissioner is well aware of that story. And you look at what the New York Times is reporting, they even have copies of Michigan signals in their translations on the field. Now, you see they're heavily redacted. But when you look at these, it is very clear that other teams around the conference, A, are engaged in sign stealing, B, had Michigan signals and signs, and C, have no evidence that they went about it illegally. Because again, and I think this is an important distinction. I think people tend to lose their minds over this stuff. Oh my God, Rutgers and Ohio State provided Purdue with Michigan signals. That's completely legal. There is nothing in the Big Ten bylaws that prevents that. And again, I think this is one of those straw men that people will throw out there to say, oh, well, but look at this, but look at it. There's nothing to look at here. Because until you have evidence that Rutgers, Ohio State, and anybody else in this conference sent scouts or sent operatives to future opponent destination sites, had them videotape the sidelines to steal their signals, upload those videos to a cloud account, and then be paid through Venmo account from one of their analysts that's public, and buy tickets in their own name, and then carve out a budget for this operation, Michigan's the only one who should be under investigation for sign stealing. Because I don't know how many more ways that I can say this. And I was talking to an industry guy today who was unaware that in the stadium, you are fully allowed to steal signals. You are, as a team, and there's another team right over there across the field. If you can stand here and you can steal their signals, knock yourself out. If the game tape that you get and the scouting tape that you get, and you get a volume of video on every team you're going to play, if on that video you can steal their signals off that video, there's nothing illegal about that. And I think people need to understand what's right and what's illegal. When you are in the right, if you steal somebody's signs, if their signs are to the point where you can steal them, there's nothing that says you can't provide them to other schools. Nowhere does it say that you should not be sharing your known intel with Purdue in the Big Ten championship game last year. Nothing. And furthermore, there's nothing that says you can't steal signs off a game tape. There's nothing that says you can't allocate personnel in your football department to steal signs off of game tape. Nothing. Nobody anywhere can find it because it does not exist. Sign stealing is not illegal in college football. What's illegal is what Michigan did when they sent people to scout Purdue 6 times, allegedly. When they sent people to the shoe to scout Ohio State and videotape their sidelines and then upload that video to the cloud so that Connor Stalions and his team at Michigan could break that tape down and steal those signals.
Sign stealer guy.
That is 100% illegal, according to the NCAA. It's as simple as you like it. Are these Michigan's plays? Are these Michigan signs and signals broken down for Purdue in the Big Ten championship game last year? Yeah, I have no doubt they are.
Looks like it.
I have no doubt they are.
Yeah.
And is there anything illegal about this process? No, there's not.
Yeah, and I think all the people saying, "Oh, well, hey, Purdue and Rutgers and everybody else is doing it." Why are we scapegoating Michigan? Because Michigan did a hell of a lot more than these two did, right? Michigan's
right.
the one that got caught. It's the analogy that we've been using for what, 2 weeks now, probably almost 3 weeks now in this thing.
And who caught Michigan doing these illegal things? A firm hired by Michigan. Because as the NCAA and the Big Ten said yesterday, or were notified yesterday, there's no indication. There is no evidence. There is no fire from the smoke that was completely fabricated that Ryan Day and his family had any part of exposing Michigan's sign stealing operation. So there you have it. One other interesting story today. And just because I did not believe under any circumstance that this dude could be any creepier than he already is, or any more interesting than he already is. Look at what the Wall Street Journal reported today. They're reporting that Connor Stalions bought a home, and that home was $485,000 near Michigan's campus. And for some reason, he started a vacuum repair business at the home. So much so that this is a picture of the home. His entire front porch was covered in vacuums.
Bro, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing?
And what is remarkable to me is it's also got a bunch of trash in front of the house, which I completely do not understand. Not only do you have whatever is going on with your Toyota pickup truck there, because that thing does not look well, but you have garbage in front of your house. His house kind of looks to be in disrepair. And you've got a porch full of vacuums. And you may say, well, Monty, he's just trying to make a living, bro.
Yeah, just trying to make ends meet, man.
Well, first of all, I'm guessing, let's remember what we know. Connor Stalions made $55,000 a year at Michigan.
Right. Okay.
Can you afford $485,000 worth of a mortgage?
Well, interest rates today.
Yeah, you probably can't. Here's the only problem. It's an HOA violation to run a vacuum repair business out of your house. So the unsightly stash upset his neighbors and sparked the interest of the HOA, which sued Stalions for operating an appliance refurbishing business out of his home, which violates HOA bylaws. Man, how many times have we said the word bylaws in the last month? Stalions fought back, and he represented himself. Boy, isn't that very Connor Stalions? I don't need a lawyer. I'll represent myself. In a letter written in response to the summons, Connor Stalions wrote, quote, I suspect that whoever has chosen to sue me, either one, doesn't like the fact that I'm a veteran. Remember, this is a Marine captain and a Naval Academy graduate. Or two, is a Michigan State fan and knows I'm a Michigan football coach and wants to draw my attention away. He had one Spartan fan in mind, someone named Jeff, who lived down the street and had a son attending Michigan State. This is all about that asshole Jeff, who's a Spartan fan.
Come on, guy. Come on.
So wait. We're going to paint with a broad brush. Somebody hates the Marines or somebody hates Michigan or both, which again doesn't preclude the fact that you stole those signs. I mean, had a bunch of vacuums on your porch, sir. You had a bunch of vacuums on your porch, sir.
Come on, bro.
But they hate Marines. But you had a bunch of vacuums on your porch, sir.
But everybody was stealing signs.
But Tom Izzo, it's Tom Izzo's fault. That you had a bunch of vacuums on your porch? No, no. This is what this guy does. Like, what do you mean, sir, that it's someone named Jeff who lives down the street? Well, say Jeff had a vacuum full of cat hair, and I'm allergic, so I could not fix it. He outed me to the HOA.
And that's a violation.
First of all, don't you love HOA disputes in neighborhoods?
Oh yeah, it is the most heated of battles.
As someone who suffers under the wrath of just a horrendous HOA, I find this very amusing. 2, bro, how many vacuums are you fixing? And how much, you need to ask Jimmy Football for a raise.
Connor Stalions seems like the guy who, once it's time to clock out, he clocks out and doesn't think about work. He seems like the guy that is constantly stealing signs when he's on the clock, and when he's not on the clock, he's at home fixing the tubes on his broken vacuums.
Yeah, look, man, this one was pretty easy. It was just one of the wheels, and then again, apparently your cat shed like motherfucker. You might want to look into that.
Good Lord.
My guy is fixing vacuums on his porch.
Be better, dude.
Oh my good grief.
Be better.
Just when you thought this story could not get any worse, could not possibly go further off the rails, Connor Stalions has a vacuum problem. Unbelievable.
Bro.
Unbelievable that homie is in trouble with his HOA. I cannot even buy it. But what are you doing buying a $485,000 house? Now, I would hope you got a VA loan, right? So you don't have to put any money down and you get more preferred rates. And
okay,
but $485,000 when you're making $55K is not. That's not good.
Dude, I don't believe that he's only making $55K. You can't tell me that's all this dude's making.
But what is it that you're seeing that you're like, oh, dude, yeah, hey, I mean, like, where was his money? Were they paying him more for the sign stealing thing?
I mean, you had to. You can't tell me they weren't spiffing the guy. I mean, hey, you get signs that lead to us winning. We're gonna pay you more. Come on.
I don't know about
that.
Come
on.
You that's your opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe. And I'm hoping that he's getting a pension he served our country and by all accounts, he served our country well. So I'm hoping that, he's got a pension and yeah, hey, that's great. But that's still $485,000 is still a lot of jack for a dude who's on the record at $55,000.
Yeah.
I don't even know that you could get a loan.
That's not an alignment, bro.
You know how tough it is to get a loan for $485 when you're only making $55?
I want to live in a van down by the river.
You can afford that, But I will give him credit for one thing in this picture. I do like the color of the Toyota.
Yeah, that's a nice color.
That's a Toyota Tundra.
Yeah, I believe that's a TRD. That's nice. Okay, cool.
I like the blue.
Cool. All right.
But what's with all this other stuff?
I mean, that could have been a nice home, dude, without all the vacuums, and you could have painted it a little better.
There's all this stuff like to the left of the Tundra, like sitting in front of the porch.
Yeah.
It just, and then what's going on the roof? Like, can you not, you can fix vacuums, but you can't power wash?
Apparently not,
Come
dude.
on, my guy. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? All right, enough of us, more of you. After we tell you about our good friends at BuckedUp, you guys had a great workout this morning. I think we've talked about this on the show. You guys know that my least favorite workout at the gym is shoulder day. The burn that comes from shoulder workouts is terrible. But Mrs. Monty dragged my ass out of bed at 5 o'clock, and I got some of that LFG pre-workout today because I was a little groggy, 6 hours of sleep, and boom. Dude, I crushed a great shoulder workout today. I had my racked BCAs. I had my 6-point creatine, and I just feel better. And that's what I love about working with BuckedUp. You see our promo code on the screen. If you're a workout guy, if you're somebody that's in the pre-workouts, if you're into amino acids, if you're into hydration, their IV line is amazing. If you're somebody that's a runner, they have all kinds of great endurance products for you. And I'm encouraging you to go use our promo code and get the hookup at BuckedUp.com. They use the best ingredients to make the best products that do exactly what they say they're going to do. And I know Bucked Up is world renowned for their pre-workouts, but you guys, everything from their whey proteins, all of their creatine stuff. I personally love the 6-point creatine, which is all 6 varieties of creatine mixed into one container. I love it. I feel like it does really good stuff for my workouts. I think it does really good stuff to make me feel better. I take a lot of their collagen peptide. I put a scoop of that into my BCAAs every day. Love it. Mrs. Monty, who is, training for a triathlon, it seems like perpetually. Did you know you needed to get measured before you buy a new bicycle?
No, I had no idea.
She's buying a new triathlon bike, and she's going to get measured for her bike tonight.
I'm for real.
All she does is use their endurance products. Hook it up, BuckedUp.com. And I want to give you 6 free buck shots. Get in the description below. Bucked Up is giving away the sampler packs of Buckshot. It is the best energy shot product on the market by far. 200 milligrams of caffeine that is naturally sourced caffeine, so it's not created. It's not a bunch of crazy ingredients. Clean ingredients, elite ingredients that make an elite product that gives you a nice lift mentally, because there's a bunch of brain food in here. So there's no big spike or huge drop. It's just really smooth. You don't even notice it really until you're like, oh yeah, man, I feel better. I can think better. I can get through this last report, conference call, the long drive home, the long drive to work. Maybe you're somebody in the 3rd shift and 2 a.m. rolls around and you're ready to hit that wall. Pop a buckshot, feel good, live your best day every day. To which I say cheers to you. And hell, maybe you got to go home and fix a bunch of vacuums. Maybe that's your side hustle. Whatever you need, get 6 free buck shots in the description below. Whew. All right, let's see who's first in today. Lopes fan Gabe, who's been a member of the show for 10 months.
Let's go, baby. Love to see the double
Let's go,
digits.
Gabe. We right now have as many members as we have ever had on the show, Grum. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much for supporting the Monty Show. It means the world to us. This porch story sucks. See what I did there? Jakey 2 holes, vacuums. It sucks.
Yeah, it's like vacuums and it sucks and stuff.
Do you want, is your neighbor having a bunch of vacuums on his porch? Is that as bad as overgrown grass and weeds? Is that as bad as your neighbor who won't paint his house?
Or the neighbor that's always fixing automotive parts in his front yard.
Yeah, always working on the car.
Yeah.
I would hate that.
Yeah.
I think that's an eyesore. I would not love Connor Stalions fixing his vacuums in my front
Hell
yard.
no, dude.
No, thank you. Aaron Wilson.
Let's go, baby.
Gift to the membership to the show today. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's go back to the top and see. Let's see who's first in today. Man, you guys are amazing. We already have 400 comments on the show today. Who is first in? Oh, I got to go all the way back to the top. Thank you for your patience. Lopes fan Gabe was first one in. He says, button casuals. Big Blue Horses says you can't handle the truth. Exactly right. Robert Fowler. Pete Thamel, who's Ross Dellinger? The only person who should get your honest and truthful information from is Monty from the Monty Show. I've never heard him give out information that isn't true. Thank you. I appreciate that. Robert also says, my guess is the Big Ten coaches have so much info on Harbaugh that isn't coming out that it forced the hand of Petiti to act now. I think this is the iceberg thing.
Mm-hmm.
You see the tip of the iceberg, and there's just so much more that you don't even know is there. And I think the NCAA this summer is going to crush Michigan and Jim Harbaugh if he is still employed there, which is why I've said I don't understand why Michigan is not taking action. Mike Chase, you have a good day, my friend. I appreciate you. David Hackett says, hello, everyone. Monty and Jake. Well, hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Aaron Wilson says only 80 likes. Hit the button. Yes, please. Give us a thumbs up on the show. It really helps the channel grow. We have had 2,500 views, and we do only have 86 likes. So if you could find it in your heart, my friends, to hit the like button, that would be awesome. Thank you very much for that. let's see. Who else? Jeremy Callahan, vac attack. I don't mind the guy has a side hustle.
Yeah, but don't have it on your porch for the world to see, dude. Do it out of your basement.
I would agree. Jeff Woodworth, members on the showgram. That's what was on Weiss's computer. Very well could be.
Right.
He was trying to hack the Monty Show membership. Mike Smith, Connor has quite the resume. Marine, sign stealing guy, vacuum repair guy, manifesto writer, part-time Village People tribute band member.
Sign stealer guy.
That guy too. My gravel bike you got measured for, as much as I spent, I expected it to fit. My wife, in this bike she's going to get is going to be not cheap. She deserves it. I mean, the lady busts her ass. But it's an expensive racket. Like getting measured, buying a new bike, like it's expensive. And again, I'm not the guy whoever is like, oh, we can't afford it. I don't care about the money. She deserves it. Boyd Lake, big taste in a big bite. Okay.
Boyd,
I mean, what you do in your personal life, I mean, you know.
Ain't no reset.
Mike says Blake Corum is the co-owner. Check out the filing. The co-owner of the vacuum business. Is that true? Or the house? I don't know. Explain that, Mike. That guy too. You got done with my ride, mixing up some bucked up BCA 211 as we speak. Just got done with my ride.
There you go. There you go.
I love it. And you guys, if you need, we have we have the ability to give you guys samples of endurance products, BCAs or pre-workouts. And I'm telling you, the bucked up shaker cup, best in the
Undefeated.
business, dude. So if you need any of that, just DM me. I can always hook you up with a link. Happy to do that. Let's see. Troy Harper. Unbelievable how Michigan is not being accountable for their shady behavior. There's a disgrace. They're a disgrace to the Big Ten. Well, let's talk about this. In the comments section, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Is Michigan truly a disgrace? Is Michigan an embarrassment? Like, how bad is this?
I don't think that they're a disgrace or an embarrassment. What I think is that it is embarrassing for the Big Ten. Certainly, it's not a good look for the Big Ten. But what I think is that this is what happens when you hire certain individuals. And I'm not saying that Jim has been known for cheating, but Jim has been known to do, nefarious things or be part of certain conversation. Like, you just know that. And
certainly.
And so are they an embarrassment or a disgrace? No, I think Jim is kind of that. I think that, look, I'm not the guy that's going to sit here and be like, well, Jim never knew. Plausible deniability, man. I'm not doing that. I think Jim knew all about this, and he's going to deny it till he's blue in the face. And Connor's the fall guy, and Connor idolizes Jim. And so it all works to make it look like Jim didn't know a damn thing. And I'm just sitting here saying, no, Michigan is not an embarrassment or a disgrace. Jim himself is the issue. And as long as Michigan chooses to employ him, they are going to continue to have embarrassing things happen to them. And it's unfortunate because I do believe, and I'm not a Michigan fan, but I'm happy to say I think Michigan fan deserves better than this. Michigan fan deserves to have a football program that's run clean and wins. Because when Michigan football wins, that's better for college football. And I think we can all agree on that.
Boy, very interesting. I appreciate Sergeant U.S. Marine Corps. Sergeant Green, United States Marine Corps, sent me the filing for BC2 Housing LLC. And indeed, Blake Corum is an organizer. Connor Stalions is an organizer, and somebody named Connor O'Day. And this is at the address. Man, that's wild. That is wild that Blake Corum is a member of this. That's crazy if that's true. And I mean, I have no reason and that the filing is directly from the Wyoming Secretary of State, which is where this business is apparently filed, but the principal office is in Ann Arbor. That's wild, dude. Formed in Wyoming with a principal office in Ann Arbor, Michigan. in good standing, taxes paid. And the initial filing was March 28th, 2022. So about 18 months ago. That's wild. Like, that's the kind of stuff. What did it take for you guys to go and find that? How did you even go and find that? I would love to understand that. D-Rock Irish, what's up, D-Rock? New Toyota Tundra going for about $50K plus. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
They are not cheap. Conundrum says Michigan administration should have known all of this. Lack of institutional control. Yeah, there's just no doubt about it. There is just no doubt about it. Mike says B2C Housing, Blake Corum listed as a partner in a Wyoming business filing. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Dixon, nope, Penn State still worse, but doesn't help the Big Ten anyway. No, there is no comparison. And this is what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
When you look at Ohio State and all the scandals in Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, if we're having a Big Ten controversy conversation, this is pretty far down the totem pole.
Way down. I mean, this is nothing compared to what Sparty's been through.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Penn State, the situation at Northwestern is well beyond any sign stealing controversy. I mean, when you're talking about human sexuality, come on now. Like abuse, come on. Those are very clearly in a completely different conversation. But when we talk about the integrity of a league, I mean, if we really wanted to get crazy, Jim Harbaugh, I mean, has never beaten Ohio State legitimately. Jim Harbaugh should not have been in the college football playoff. I think I could make those arguments pretty strongly.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of people are wondering. I mean, is that fair to say? Because I've seen a lot of people who are like, oh, well, now that we know that like Purdue and Rutgers were sign stealing, does that mean that those Michigan wins over Ohio State are legitimate since everyone was sign stealing? And I'm sitting here just saying, okay, yeah, they may have had some signals from Michigan, but there's no evidence that they knew every single play that their opponent was running in Michigan and where to put their defense, which is what we know happened here. And so I'm not saying they didn't know that, but what I am saying is there's not evidence that they did.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
Logan gave us $5 to say, Harbaugh to Stalions, I need a new dust filter for my Hoover Max Extract. Model 60, can you help me with that? That is a Breaking Bad reference all day. Absolutely. Phenomenal Hebrew. No mercy for Michigan. He should have been gone the rest of the year. If this Penn State doing this, y'all would try to end the program. Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But again, I think it's different precedents. I mean,
I completely agree.
Penn, again, we don't need to rehash what happened at Penn State, but it's safe to say that, Penn State has history.
Yep. Matt Riley for $10. The reason you file in Wyoming is to shield yourself. They have some of the most lax protective laws for businesses and trusts. It makes me suspicious they're trying to hide money being moved around. Hey, I don't know that. I don't know anything about any of that. I do know about states with lax laws and easier tax situations, and Wyoming is certainly one of them. There's just no question about that. But Domer Wop, what's up, Domer?
Hey, Domer.
Harbaugh is a disgrace. Tanner says, is Michigan a disgrace? Let's get a poll up on that. I wonder how that poll would go. Yes. Can we vote multiple times? Yes. I mean, that's not a good poll question. Jack says still not on the level of Penn State. Not at all.
No.
Parker Seymour. He's an Ohio State fan. I wonder how this is going to go. Michigan is an embarrassment more than a disgrace. I would agree with that. Force Ghost Fabio, yes. Look at me says yes. Look at me. That's a Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's a Dark Knight reference and stuff. Yeah.
Conundrum says boundaries, my boys, boundaries. Okay. Bryce Martin, I think it is embarrassing because this team, that was your best chance at winning the Natty for 2 years and they cheated. Exactly right. Troy Harper, you have to cheat to win. Yeah, that's a disgrace. Can't say that's wrong. Eddie Phillips, disgrace is being way too kind. I just don't want to go too far with it.
Yeah, I'm sitting here saying that Jim is the embarrassment. Jim is the one. My opinion is, again, don't have evidence, but my opinion is based on what we do know. Jim knew all about this. He was in the middle of it. I would not even be surprised
How could he not?
if Jim was sitting here. Again, it's the old angle. Hey, I haven't been able to beat Ohio State. I'm on the hot seat. I need to get an edge. Okay, let's send out our boy Connor Stalions to do this whole thing.
Well, and if we're guessing, here's my guess in my opinion. I think Connor Stalions came up with a plan. I think Connor Stalions, completely my opinion, he's a brilliant mind. There is everybody who's ever run into him says that. I think Connor Stalions got game tape and was able to decipher that game tape and was like, boy, I was just sitting here thinking. And he went to Jim and said, what do you think? And I think Jim said, I don't want to know, but that's a great idea. Now, Connor, I would never allow. Never. But man, that's a great idea. My guess is he said, yeah, that's a great idea. He knew. And when people are like, well, yeah, it's a great idea, but he never authorized him. Okay, well, where did he think all the information was coming from? When you had him play by play by play by play by play, you ran Rutgers into the ground 2 years ago, dude. You had every snap.
What do you think? Connor just came up with it off the top of his head?
Offense and defense. And you had it. And the part that I think a lot of people don't want to talk about, the advantage is that you're preparing on that information. You're preparing on that for the entire week. So you're deciphering those signals ahead of time.
Yes.
So you quite literally, when you show up at practice on Monday and you're installing, you're teaching your players what to look for. And they know, hey, when they call, if you look at this Michigan call sheet, right? Where is this? You look at this Michigan call sheet, second down press, right? On runs, or they're able to say when you're, there's a Nike swoosh, that means tempo. That means tempo. Pick up your pace, boys. That means tempo. You look at, all these different things. They're able to say, okay, when they put up that Nike swoosh, they're going tempo. When they go tempo, and it was one of the things I've heard repeatedly is when they go tempo, they go run zone scheme on the offensive line. When they throw out of a run zone look, so your offensive line looks like they're zone blocking for a run, but because they put up the swoosh and whatever, pounded their chest, that means en route to a post fade. So your safety doesn't care what the quarterback is actually doing. He's going to cover the post fade. So when that ball comes out, because that's where it's going, he's going to be there to either make the play or intercept the pass. He's been preparing on that for an entire week, knowing that.
Yeah.
That's a massive advantage. And you still did not win the college football playoff. Let that sink in. You still did not win the college football playoff.
Yeah.
So I don't know how.
That's the truly embarrassing thing if you're a Michigan fan.
It really is.
I mean, you had everything you needed and still couldn't win.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know how you didn't do that. I don't know how you didn't do that. I really don't. Bryce Martin, all the calls, everything that UM has achieved over the last 3 years in question. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Tanner Plummer, after this scandal, I don't think Michigan winning is good for college football anymore. It's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. One big Bucks fan should be a bowl ban, in my opinion. Yeah, but you can't. Michigan, here's the thing, though. The Big Ten, and if you're just tuning into the show, the Big Ten, according to our sources, is not going to punish Michigan players. They are going to leave that for the NCAA, who is fast-tracking their investigation on this. And I think there's just no doubt. There's just no doubt. And I go back to what we reported last Thursday. The Big Ten told Michigan, and Tony Petitti told Michigan, we are going to hold Jim Harbaugh responsible for the actions of his staff. And it just is what it is, right? Because Michigan and the Big Ten do not want to take Michigan football for obvious financial reasons, is what I think it is. But a lot of people are saying Tony Petitti doesn't want to punish the kids, even though they knew and went along with it. They're not going to prevent Michigan from postseason play at the Big Ten level. I think you're going to get that from the NCAA no matter what, because of Jim Harbaugh's previous violations. And there's a lot of people who think he's looking at a full year ban coming up for next season from the NCAA, which is why he's going to leave there anyway. So when we talk about should they be allowed to play in the postseason, well, no, but the Big Ten, I don't think on any way, shape, or form could make that evaluation in this short of time anyway.
Right.
What's very clear is Michigan sent people to advance, scout, and steal signs, and there was an entire process in place inside the football department based on the evidence that we have publicly available to us. We need to discipline Jim Harbaugh for that, because the public pressure just continues to get turned up from coaches, athletic directors, presidents, fans. I mean, there's no gray area here. You're going to take action. Mike Smith, it takes 3 days to do a vacuum repair service at home. Seriously, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Mark Barnett, wonder what the HOA thinks of an LLC being ran out of a home. They sued him. They sued him, according to the Wall Street Journal. The unsightly stash peeved neighbors and sparked the interest of the HOA, which sued Stalions for allegedly operating an appliance refurbishing business out of his home in violation of the HOA bylaws. They didn't like it.
Keep it real.
They did not like it at all. So there's no question what the HOA thought of it. They hated it.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
Domer Wap, NCAA fast tracking is like switching my grandma from a walker to a wheelchair. Well, but I mean, you're never going to be able to rule on this in 6 weeks.
Well, and I think this is also really the first time that the College Football Playoff Committee has had any type of opportunity to impact anything from a disciplinary standpoint. I mean, they're right squarely in the middle of a situation, meaning like, hey, yeah, they don't have any responsibility to discipline Michigan.
That's right.
But you could, through the power you do have, you could keep them out of the college football playoff simply by voting them out.